got it going. With the spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our fate and stream it to you on one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stopped it right now and we just walked away, we'd be back here next week, cause we just can't wait to play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an ARG Presents. I'm your host, The Brent, sitting here with a man who's stunned. He doesn't know what to do. It's a little PSP on a big old basket. It's Amigo Aaron.
Hey, how's it going?
Aaron, you
Yeah.
failed to be ready for the show, and I had to jump in and do the intro. What do you have to say to the fans that think that you're slacking and you're just a burden, an anchor to the show at large?
You're correct, fan. You are correct. Put a chain on me, throw me on the side of the ship. Old Anchor A. You know, I do want to say, before the show gets cooking, as we record this today, it is Father's Day, the Brent.
Yes.
We're both fathers, very lucky fathers.
Twice over in some cases.
And, of course, our pop is living up in the camper beside the river in Clay County, West Virginia. And we want to say a special shout out to our dad, Raymond, a great man who raised one great kid. And you can't always get it right, if you know what I mean.
You know, we tried.
You did get something right, though, the Brent.
Uh-oh.
This week, we spun the wheel and we made the deal last week. And this week, we're going to be looking at games on the PSP.
Yes.
PlayStation Portable. Now, you know, every once in a while we get one of these obscure, wacky systems, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But this one is not obscure or wacky, and I don't know what I'm doing. Because despite the fact that I've got two of these in a drawer in the house, I didn't play these things back when they were released originally. I know at least one of the PlayStation Portables I've got at the house is yours.
Yes.
Did you buy them? When did you buy this? How far out of the gate before you picked one of these up?
Long past its prime.
Yeah.
I picked this up solely as an emulation machine. Checked the serial numbers, bought that bad boy off eBay.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Slapped on the good old programs. I have never held a UMD, well, I take that back. I've held plenty of them. I have never put a UMD disc into my PSP. So I'm one of those guys. But to be fair, I didn't pirate PSP games. I did it solely for the emulation.
I pirated them, but we'll get into that. So let's talk about the PSP. We're all going to learn together here. Seriously, because I mean, this thing is. I knew it was out. I don't know. I didn't care at the time. I don't know why. This thing debuted in Japan the very end of 2004, and most of the rest of the world between March and September of 2005. They made these things, the Brent, from 2004 all the way to 2014. If you can believe that. I know. I was surprised. And when this thing debuted, it was $250 American dollars.
Yes.
Out of the gate. Well, it's funny. That doesn't seem that bad now.
Yeah,
but at the time, that was a pretty good chunk of change. These things let's just get to the point of it right away. Was the PSP, in your mind, a success?
You mean commercially?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't mean leading the pack. I just mean, was it a success?
No. In Sony's eyes, I do not feel like it was a commercial success.
Really? Well, I've got the sales numbers here, in case you're interested.
Okay.
Over the lifetime of this thing, it's estimated that they sold, and of course, keep in mind, this is over several models and revisions of the PlayStation Portable.
They definitely went through a lot.
And we'll talk about some of them. It sold between 80 and 82 million units.
Ooh!
Right. So I mean,
Japan came in clutch.
Well, I'm just saying it did pretty well. You know, the thing that struck me is if you hold a PlayStation Portable in your hand, it feels good in your hand. I mean, it feels like a natural fit to me. And of course, you've got your shoulder buttons, you've got your traditional PlayStation buttons on it. Then you had that kind of nutty analog control, which is okay.
Yeah.
It was okay for what it was. Then you had your crosshairs. But some of the peripherals and stuff on here are pretty nutty. Of course, Brent mentioned the disc system that this thing had on it. And the disc system on this, of course, you know, Sony has to serve many masters, and it served a couple in the PSP. One was the release of this thing, the UMD.
Yeah.
They had visions of the UMD, I think, beyond the PlayStation as a
Yes.
portable media player. I believe you could get UMD players that were just
Yes.
outright players.
Mm-hmm.
And UMDs were small. They looked like very, very small compact discs. And of course, the PSP, the original introductory versions and a couple past that had the UMD drives. And so what you had was a physical spinning disc inside your inside your portable machine, which was, that took a lot of engineering to marry a spinning motorized CD-ROM with a machine that is mobile and it rides off of a battery.
Yeah.
How do you figure do you feel like they pulled this off?
Well, the battery life for the PSP on its base battery, base model was okay, as I recall. It's not gonna.
I would agree.
It's not gonna get you to grandma's house and back, but it can probably get you to grandma's house.
The UMDs, of course, all the games shipped on them, and then you had feature film releases. I didn't go deep into the UMD side of this thing, but eventually this got phased out in the later revisions, which we'll talk about. The other thing this thing had in it, and you know, traditionally, even today, you've got your SD cards and your micro SD cards. This is sort of the ipso facto storage on portable devices, even today. But back in those days, it was sort of still the ipso facto device, but not at Sony it wasn't, because they were hawking the old memory stick. The memory stick Duo, the memory stick Pro Duo. Now, I've got one of Sony's laptops somewhere in the menagerie, and they included this same technology in their laptops. Well, no, they did.
Oh, I believe you, but no good.
And so, of course, what was this? Sony's proprietary storage.
Yeah.
You know, hey, listen, you got your Apples, you got your Sonys. They want you to use their crap. That's the way they do it. And so these things, of course, were more expensive than your traditional USB sticks or your SD cards. I do have one memory stick, but most of what that memory stick slot is used for is the little piracy device I've got that lets you actually put two SD cards and a little gizmo that plugs into that slot. These things had a 4.3-inch screen, 480 by 272, so it was 30 by 17 wide screen.
Yeah.
I thought the screen on this was I thought it was a good choice. What did you think of the screen, the proportions of the screen on this?
I thought it was fair. I mean, because the PSP is made to be long anyway.
Yeah.
And you've got to fill that space with something. You might as well fill it with screen.
Sure.
I'm sure that it caused some developers a little bit of heartache.
Yeah.
I don't think widescreen was in huge. That proportion of widescreen, I don't think was hugely adapted throughout video games.
Yeah.
But I think it works for the unit for
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's a good looking unit. Now you've got several models of this. The original PSP 1000, the 2000, the 3000, and then you started getting into your PSP Go era. The Go's were, I mean, the 1, 2, and 3 are substantially, I mean, they're pretty much the same with a few, in terms of the layout, with a few minor exceptions. In terms of how much RAM it had is the perfect example. But they all had Wi-Fi. They all had USB 2. They all had a headphone jack. They all had the Memory Stick Pro. When you get into the last couple revisions, the PSP Go's, they are actually sort of almost like they're a stacked unit as opposed to a wide unit.
That's a whole different ball of wires.
Well, I mean, they're still PSPs. Did you ever get to fool with one of these things?
No. I mean, I knew of them. They had the whole slide-up mechanic.
Yeah.
Do I think it was a better or more attractive unit than the PSP? I mean, sorta. It definitely made it a lot easier to carry around, I'm sure, because the PSP was a beast.
Yeah.
But the PSP was also designed that way on purpose to give you a good big old screen, which the Go did not.
The Go's did a few things different on the Go, and one of the things they did was get rid of the drive. They've also got, it had 16 gigs of onboard storage.
Yeah.
Which was nice. So not too bad. And it kept, of course, you kept your Wi-Fi and whatnot. I mean, I think they were pretty decently sold. You asked about like you said, oh, Japan must have pulled them out. Believe it or not, they've got the individual numbers for each the big countries. Of the 4 major areas in the world, Japan bought 19 million of these. Yeah. The U.S. bought 17 million. Not bad. Europe 12. UK alone got 3.2 of these things. So they did okay. Now, let's talk about games on the PSP, because the gimmick of the PSP, at least the way it was presented to me back in the day, they're like, listen, this is a portable PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get. So you're going to get, and this is back when that meant something. You're like, wow, because the PlayStation's pretty good. I can take it on the road. And I think they not only met those requirements, I think they exceeded them in some instances.
Absolutely, yeah.
So one would wonder, Brent, what are the big sellers on the machine? This kind of, if you look at these big sellers, you can sort of get an idea for what people were playing and like what kind of games are out there. If you're interested, but I'm not going to try to make you guess these.
I'm gonna guess.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say Ridge Racer has to be in the top 5.
It's not.
Wow.
I'm
not. Surprised.
Ridge Racer was that? I didn't realize that was a big deal on the portable.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at the top 25 here. Sorry, it didn't make the cut, my friend.
I'm surprised.
So I will give you the top 4 or 5 here. So at number 1, Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. I've never played this, but I've always wanted to. I mean, this is what GTA was going bonkers.
Yeah.
This thing sold 8 million units.
Woo!
That's a big time. Coming in second, Monster Hunter Portable the third. You play some of those Monster Hunter games. I know you like those. Number 3, a game that I never got on with, but people love it, Gran Turismo. People love that game. I can understand it. The next in line, Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories, which is another Grand Theft Auto. You have to do another 4.5 million units on this one. Then rounding out the top 10, you had your Ratchet and Clank Size Matters, 4.4. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, 3.8. God of War Chains of Olympus at 3.2. I've heard good things about that. Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7 and Monster Hunter Freedom 2. So a good chunk of the top 10.
GTAs and Monster Hunters.
Yeah, those are. But I mean, the one thing they've got in common is that they were exclusive to the system. Then going down the list just a little bit more. I mean, you've seen like the stuff you would think you would see. You're going to see your Tekkens, your Metal Gears, the stuff that are Sony PlayStation standards. More God of War, more Metal Gear, your Star Wars, Wipeout, and then rounding out the top 25, WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2008, which is a pretty good game for its time. When you go back and look at the PlayStation Portable versus, say, it's what it was replaced with, which is the Vita,
right.
I see a lot more PSPs than I do Vitas walking around.
Well, I think the landscape was changing by the time the Vita hit the market.
Yeah. How important do you think the PSP's success or lack of success was? How important was Nintendo to that, success or failure? Because they were floating around. I mean, what was admittedly a weaker machine in 3DS, actually the DS at that time.
Right.
But the DS was a huge popular hit. And it was a bigger deal than the PSP. Nintendo did what they always seem to do, which is take lesser hardware and get more out of it. Do you think that negates any success? I mean, when you look back and you look back on the PSP and say, yeah, it's a pretty good machine.
No, I don't think anyone was sitting in a GameStop with a DS in one hand and a PSP in the other saying, man, I wonder which one I'm going to buy. Those are two completely different worlds.
It's funny when you think about it. The PSP sold all these units, and it's still sort of considered not a huge deal.
Well, I mean, with that many sold, you have to say it was a success.
Here's my take, because I never owned a DS. I only had a PlayStation Portable, and I thought the DS was a gimmick. Now, my son got one, and I play games on it. It works. I'm into it. I'm down with it. But the PlayStation Portable, I think it did what it said it was going to do. It played PlayStation level games portably, and I think it did a good job. I mean, I've always found it to be a good-looking machine with a beautiful screen, a durable machine, and I think a well-engineered machine. I thought they did a good job on the control buttons, the panels, the analog were always solid, and the sound was good. So with the exception of the kind of the more Sony aspects of it with the USB and the card slot, I think it's a solid machine. And if I was going to pick something to take with me from back in the day, it would be probably the top of the list because it ran emulators great. You could bootleg the games on it. It did a lot of stuff. You know, even back in the day, you could use it to surf the web and stuff.
Now, I have a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah.
And this is a little off topic, but we
Of
probably
course.
won't be coming back.
We
this
were
way.
rolling. All right, go ahead.
In the situation you're in now, and me too, the time in life that we have, when are you going to sit down and play a PSP?
Well, you know, I'll tell you something. Soon. Because this week really opened my eyes. You know, I've got all sorts of collection of retro games for like the Raspberry Pi, for example. I don't think much about it. And so when it comes time for us to individually go out and emulate a game, because I could have put this in the PSP, but I sort of wanted to play it on the PC so I could really get a good look at it. And it emulated so simply, and it was so easy to do. And I'm looking at because I used to play PSP games a lot back in the day. And I'm like, man, this is a library that opens up. It's almost like more PlayStation games.
But what I'm asking is, when are you going to use the portability of a PSP or any handheld device?
I don't use them that much, I will say.
And that is an unfortunate truth to people at our age, at our time of life. Because if I had, I mean, now the handheld sector is dominated by cell phones, and that's never going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo's still going to sell their handheld and all that good stuff, but realistically, it's all about cell phone games. If I have a PSP, right?
Yeah.
And I remember this when I bought it, thinking about all the places I was going to use this and play with it, and it never materialized because I can't play it when I'm driving. I'm always the chauffeur,
Yeah,
right?
I understand
Right?
that, yeah.
I'm never going to be away from my technology.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go camping, and I don't go train rides.
You don't go anywhere.
No, I mean, I don't do mass transit. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So when am I going to actually use the portability part of a handheld? And I think, especially in today's world, the age of the portable systems is almost over. I think it is almost over. With cell phones being as dominant for the 5-10 minute I'm going to play a game sector, I think the age of portables is almost over. And I know that Switch 2 just released
Sold out.
to a huge crowd.
You don't think a lot of those are going to be going portable?
I think most of those are going to be sitting in a dock. Or I can see a world where people are playing them sitting on their couch.
Well, I'm going to... First of all, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I never get to play anything portably. Part of it is because if I'm out and about, I'm trying actually to not use my electronics if I can help it.
Yes.
Because I feel like I've become at least partially handcuffed to this stuff. But my son has hardly... I bet I can count the number of hours he's had his Switch 1 hooked to the dock and play it on one hand. He never does that. He also, of course, Luke also turns the volume completely off on every game he plays. No volume, and he always has it. He never plays on the dock. So I don't know how younger generations are in terms of their portability stuff. He's always got it with him. He always carries that or his phone with him at all times, usually one or both. And so I know, so at least my little guy, I know he uses it portably a lot. But
Well, that's good.
I
That's good to hear.
think you're probably on the right track in terms of that, especially for people in our age group.
Right.
And the thing is, I would like to play.
on.
I would like to play games out in the field, but it's like in the old days, maybe when I was waiting from laundry to laundromat or something, or waiting for a bus, I might have fired them up. But like, I don't have a second to do that stuff. I'm either on the road getting home or I'm home, and if I'm at work, I'm doing work. There's nowhere in between. With all that said, I'm going to lead the dance this week, Brent, for battery
You're
purposes.
going to lead the dance, huh?
Yeah, because the laptop's going to die soon, so I'm going to go first. I'm just going to tell you the way it is. Also, my game is way better.
Oh.
So, we had to choose two. This is a lot of fun. Because the PSP library, I know more about the CPC and like some obscure systems that do the PSP. So when you look at the PSP library, you're like, oh my God, Tekkens and Dead or Alive. I was just like, holy smokes, all this stuff's out there. And so I was like, I'm going to play something that I've never, ever heard of. And I'm going to do one of my old tricks, and I did. I saw this game's name, and I'm like, my God, if this was released in the States, I'm in. And it was, amazingly. And so this week I'm going to be playing Kenka, Bancho, Badass Rumble.
Yes.
That's all I need to say right there. Released on the PSP in November 27, 2008. Published by Spike and developed by Bullets Company Limited. So I looked into Bullet. It's funny if you look at what they've done. A lot of it's collections. They did a Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, the Wario Gold, and then they did some of these Saga games and Upper. I never heard any of these things. They also did the Final Fantasy 7 complete or Final Fantasy 4 complete collection. I think I got that right. It might be 7. I may have inverted them. It doesn't matter. Some Final Fantasy stuff. This thing released in America, Japan. I don't know if this got a release in Europe. Don't know. So this game won me over pretty quickly. You know, remember a couple weeks ago we played Rival Schools?
Yes.
Rival Schools is a game where schools face off because there's this big mystery going on. They have these big fights. So in this game, you play Takashi Sakamoto. Okay, we're just going to call him Takashi. Takashi is a jerk.
Yes.
He's an arrogant jerk.
Yes.
Okay, he also just basically treats all of his friends like garbage.
Yes.
He's a garbage man.
Yes.
And the game starts off with him on like a train, I believe, or bus, heading to a city on a field trip because the teachers told him if he didn't go on the field trip, he was going to fail out of school.
Yes.
So he had to go. And it's a sightseeing trip in a town called Kyoto, okay? It's a fictional city, all right? The fictional city of Kyoto. You and your friends go, and your friends you're a jerk to. You got a friend that's a guy and a friend that's a girl, school girl. But your guy is a real tough fighting machine guy. And so those guys are called Banchos. I don't know if any of this stuff actually exists, but throughout the game, on all the loading screens, there are little like definition things that tell you what these different terms mean.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite helpful. Unfortunately, the PSP emulator loads so fast, you don't get to see them that much. But if you take a quick look, and it's fun, there's tons of trivia in there about all these different Japanese phrases and stuff, and the colors and stuff. So when your guy arrives in Kyoko, he's instantly confronted by these toughs, the local toughs. And you get out and you beat the tar out of them, and you guys, wow, you guys like, this is it. All the kids are coming to this sightseeing town on school trips, and every year they have a big, basically, I don't want to say it's a tournament, it's more like they all just basically wail on each other until there's only one Bancho left, and he's the king of Japan, basically.
King for the year, yep.
And so that's the game is your guy's quest to take Takashi through all these different parts of the city and wail on every Bancho you find. There are 47 guys you can wail on. So in some ways this is like a fighting game, and in some ways this is like a beat 'em up. It's a weird. What it reminded me of was like what was that big game on the Dreamcast everybody
Power
loved?
Stone.
No, not Power Stone.
That's what it reminded me of.
No.
Because you fight in arenas.
Yes, but you fight. You'll fight multiple people.
Yeah.
So I want to get to the bread and butter of this game. What makes this game interesting? Well, it's a culture clash for the States. I'll tell you that right now. There's nothing in this game that you could like get behind. It's weird. It's a totally foreign concept. The concept of these Banchos. So your guy, you start off in the hotel, and what they've done in the game is quite clever. You've got 7 days to take out these 47 Banchos, these other Banchos. But in between these, you've got to attend these various school activities. But the good thing is the school activities drag you all over the city to all these like temples and lakes, all sorts of stuff. And so sometimes you're going to find Banchos that are also there, right? And there's also, you run into this geek at the hotel who's sort of like your scheduling guy. He'll help you. He calls you on the phone all the time to give you hints, give you ideas on what you can do. And then in the afternoons, you can do whatever you want. So you've got access to a bus line and a subway and taxis. They'll take you anywhere you want all over the entire map. And so if you don't pay attention, this can become a sludge where you just aimlessly wander.
Yeah.
But what you need to do is, where the key to this game is getting a hold of your enemies' school itineraries. Because then you can see where they're going to be at what time. And then you show up there and wait on them. And sure enough, they show up. It's the darndest thing. It's the strangest thing on earth. You can also just randomly beat the snot out of guys on the street. You can tell if they're toughs because they'll want to pick fights with you and stuff. So what my strategy early on was, like the very first night after I fought the initial Bancho, I just went around and crushed every geek I saw. Something else you can do, every different tourist area, there's all these stores, convenience stores, all over the place. You can go in there and buy food to raise your energy and stuff. You could also get, like, the first thing I did was buy a souvenir ball bat. It's actually it's a wooden sword.
Yeah, weapons.
And it'll have, like, the name of the area carved on. I thought to myself, is this real? Because then your guy takes this souvenir and wails on the bad guys. Now, I'm leaving out a couple things I said at the beginning of this. At the very, very beginning, you get an option to have a flashback, okay? When you're on the bus heading to the city, you can have a flashback. And if you do the flashback, it's your dad training you to be tough. In a great scene where he teaches you all the controls of the game. You don't have to do it. But your dad is a jerk. And so he'll teach you these fight moves. And then as you wail on him, he's got all kinds of cockamamie things. He talks about your mom. He talks about all this crap. It's real funny. The dad's pretty... Did you do the dad?
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of the game,
and
actually.
Then something else you have to do. So when you encounter another tough, often you'll have to eyeball the guy.
Stare him down.
Stare him down. Once you've had the stare down, then it's time for the insult battle. This is actually what got me to get the game. So, if you picture the different the X, the cross, the triangle, the square, the circle, and the control pad, a phrase will pop up on the screen and in little chunks, and you have to mirror that phrase by hitting the correct button with these words that appear on the screen. If you do that, you give the other guy the business, and you've freaked him out so much, you get a free shot, basically. Yeah. But if he gets you, then you have a free shot. He gets a free shot at you. So there's also like a little insult battle. I wish they had done more with the insult battle, because they should have let you freestyle in the insult battle. It would have been a lot funnier. But it is still fun. I like the fact that part of the very first thing you do in the fight is to insult the guy. So, once you've found the guy you're fighting, then it's time to get into combat. Now, the combat in this is interesting. You're in a three-dimensional... You're in, like, a side of a street, for example. You've got full movement all around the street, okay? This isn't like Tokyo Shin or something, where you do like a roll and you stay in a certain circle. I mean, you just walk. If you want to walk all the way to the left, you do, even if the guy's wailing on you.
You know what it reminds me of? Die Hard Arcade.
Die Hard Arcade. That would be a prime example. Shenmue. That's what I was trying to think of. The combat in Shenmue is a lot like this, too. That's not a good thing. The combat in this is a mixed bag, because one thing you do is when you beat one of these Banshus, you get... Not only do you get some of their power, and you get them to be subservient to you, which I'll get to in a minute, but you also get their moves. And when you level up, you get new moves. So when you get to points in the game like the hotel or when you're on a train, you can actually change your moveset on the fly.
Yeah. And
you've got a zillion options for moves. There's a ton of moves in this that you can put on your guy. I mean, some of them are insane, these different moves. And so you can always keep it fresh. Like one of my builds was a smack guy. All he did was, he did pimp slaps, he did an overhand chop to the top of the head, he did a big headbutt. That's all he did, smacks and headbutts. But that's not the most effective. I found out the most effective is just carry a weapon.
A weapon, right.
But as you wail on these guys, you're fighting 2, 3, 4 guys. If you get to the point where you're like, oh, there's too many guys, anytime you've beaten guys, you can call up on the phone and they have to come help you fight. And they don't want to either. But sometimes you just like, come over here. But you weren't nice to these men when you beat them, by the way, so they don't want to show up. And then you can fight the guy. When you beat the guy, you get a few points to spend on your endurance, your strength, your speed. It's your stats. And you also get points when you level up. So it's sort of there's some role-playing game elements to it in terms of the stat building and stuff. They also, and this is a very Japanese game, they encourage you to look around, get souvenirs, collect pennants. You'll just occasionally find money. I found so much money, I just stopped picking it up. Because my guy was loaded with yen. I had tons of it. And then after one day's over, you can go back to your hotel, crash out. We're skipping over so many of the small things. You can upgrade your wardrobe. It's some wacky stuff, too. Like if I had a full banana suit for some reason, you can upgrade. You can change your haircut. You can change your shoes. You can change all that stuff. And as you go through the game, you get people know you more, It's a fun game, and on top of everything else, there's a backstory going on involving your school. You find a girl that's into you, and you go out on a date with her, and you make this other girl jealous. You go down that road. Sometimes you come up and your buddy's getting the crap kicked out of him, or a guy you don't like is getting beat up. You have to come help him, I really enjoyed this game. I'd say the weakest elements of it are actually the fighting, but it's not. I thought the fighting was not the worst, if I'm honest. And I did like the fact that this is a pretty robust move set that you could pick for your guy. And some of the bad guys are pretty funny. If you get far enough into it, you get some pretty crazy moves, Brad.
The problem with is you really only have, because you have to replace things that you do with moves that you learn.
Right.
So you really only have access that you're using on a fight per fight to like 5 moves.
Well, you know what it reminded me of was like the Japanese wrestling games I used to play. When you program those in, now granted you were dozens and dozens and dozens of slots, but in this you get standing moves, you get moves you do from behind, and you get your rush moves and your power moves, and so at least you let you program in different stuff so it doesn't get boring. But yes, you can just spam the same thing over and over a lot of times. Plus, as I mentioned, you'll come along and some guys have like ball bats. Yeah. You just go over and wail on that guy and then take their ball bat and beat the tar out of him with it.
And you keep it after that fight. You can have it.
And plus, there are tons of them. So before I go any further, what were your thoughts on this one?
This was certainly not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
There is a ton of dialogue. It's very wordy. It wants to pull you into the universe they've created.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I bought it. in.
I think the concept is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Basically, these are like little school gangs. And some people are the gang, but they don't really want to be that gang. And so they won't tell you that they're playing along, and they'll kind of hide the fact. I think that's kind of neat.
Like there's one guy, you come up to wail him, he's like, listen, I just came here to sightsee. You're like, nope, time to fight. He's like, if I let you kill me, will you leave me alone? He's like, yeah, so you beat him up.
So I think that aspect of it is pretty neat. Definitely the weakest part of this is the fighting. Even though your mentor father says that you should never use a weapon, you should totally use a weapon. If you want to get through the game on autopilot, no thought involved, you can buy the plastic sword from the hotel lobby, and
it's wooden, not
wooden
plastic.
sword, and you're just going to crush everyone for the first 10 fights at least.
Yeah. There's a reason to not use a weapon, because number one, you don't get to see your cool moves.
Yeah.
And you're not getting better at that.
Well,
and that comes in later.
And that's the thing. You have to... The game gives you shortcuts, and if you take them, you're going to have less fun.
Yeah.
However, if you want to just progress, you're going to take the shortcuts. The dialogue definitely gets a little too wordy in places. I found myself, I was trying to read everything, and then I eventually got to the point where I was just like, button. I can't take another one of these things. And when the two of the Banchos team up, their conversations are almost always funny.
Yeah.
They almost have something going on. But all the other conversation in the game, when you're talking to the cop or you're talking to your hotel lobby buddy, they just go on and on and on, and you will just end up, at least I did. I got to the point where I was just buttoning through.
The lobby buddy's a texting machine. And it always comes at the worst time. You're like, are you kidding me? Another one? It's always like, take the subway. It's like, I know about the subway already.
Yeah. So I think this game, I mean, I had fun. I did not beat this.
Oh, gosh. 47? I didn't think so.
For the longest time, I didn't, because I play with an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
And their buttons are swapped on the top. The face buttons are swapped from what you would normally think of. So the first time I did the one-liner battle with the father mentor, I just lost over and over and over. And it's kind of funny because when you lose, your guy still says the phrase. Yeah. And it's usually, I mean, if you, depending on how bad you mess up, it can get completely nonsensical. And if it's completely off the rails, the NPC actually reacts differently than if you just missed one thing. Yeah. Because I had a few times where it's just like, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, and smacked you. Yeah. So
I had a big picture of a PlayStation joystick on my other screen with the buttons, and I'd be there trying to memorize where the buttons were so I could do those things on the Xbox controller.
Yeah, because when you're doing the one-liners, it's timed. You only get 3 seconds per part of your phrase, and your phrase is always 3 segments long.
Yeah.
So I thought that's a very cute kind of thing. I enjoyed that. I mean, like I said, overall, this was fun. I wish the combat was better. I wish it was a little less wordy so you could get to the stuff more. But it's very pulls you in. The things you can buy are fun. The snacks and the souvenirs and stuff are fun. I'm always for that kind of crap. So, yeah, thumb mostly up for this.
There were some things that could have been better. I wish there was a quick save feature. When you think on something like this, I mean, I think when you turn off the PSP, it would just save, but it would just continue when you turn it back on. But this, you had to go to your hotel room to save, which is irritating. You can get lost. Like one time, I got a note. It said like, "Hey, this boss is gonna be into something but other." I waited around there all day. He never showed up. Like I don't know what happened. So, and you can also front load your guy. If you just, because at first I wasn't beating up the toughs that you just see around. I started wailing on them, and like I was leveled up like a fiend. And then when I'd fight normal guys, I would just murder them. Like my guy was a death machine.
Yeah.
But there is the possibility of getting lost if you don't pay attention. But I didn't have that. Me, I get lost everywhere, but I didn't have that big a problem with that.
There's a lot of loading in this. Each segment that you go into, I mean, it's almost like Resident Evil-like. You've got your hotel room, and then you've got the hallway outside your hotel room. Then you've got the stairs down the hotel room. Yeah. Then the hotel lobby, and then you go outside. So it's 5 things to get from one area to the other.
I understand they did that for like a realism, but that is stupid because you have to do it over and over and over, and that gets old. It'd be nice if they had some quick travel you could get into.
I would say on the actual disc, this was a loading nightmare, but on emulation, I can't judge it because it was pretty much instantaneous.
One last thing, I got a copy of this that every time it worked, but every time you tried to actually change your moves, the machine would just not work. Yeah. So and Brennan informed me there is a bad ISO dump.
There's a bad
there,
rip,
and you're going to want to get the good one. Just in case you were wondering about the people at the Tay, OneUp.com gave this a B-. Destructoid 7.5 out of 10. Famitsu 30 out of 40. GamePro 3 out of 4. GameSpot 7 out of 10. GameZone 7.5 out of 10. IGN 6.8 out of 10. And the PlayStation Magazine gave this 3 out of 5. I think I really enjoyed this game. Now I like beat 'em ups. And our thing is that I don't like a lot of programming a guy. I mean, this was light enough elements of RPG where I could get into it. It doesn't get super deep, but I mean, you still do some neat stuff in it. We did get a review, believe it or not.
I can't. I cannot believe
Pajako took a chance. He says, so with a game like this, a couple hours isn't going to get you far, but a couple hours was enough for me. I just wandered around aimlessly and getting into fights either at my choosing or just randomly, and it felt dull and samey.
Oh.
The camera controls made the whole thing a little bit difficult to play at times, especially when you had gangs of school kids or cops, don't ask, swarming around you, and you could end up taking a beating because you can't see everything. We'll talk about that in a second. The dialogue, which you kind of need to read to roughly know what you're doing, is long, and the intro tutorial was about 5 minutes before I got to actually touch a button to do anything. Also, I found the taunt system for starting the ruckus with your BMO vision got really old quick.
Oh.
I also had zero affinity for my character. He looked and acted like a douchebag.
Well, that's true.
I wanted to jump in the screen and kick his ass myself. I also had some issues with the controls, like I would constantly throwing my weapon away when trying to pick stuff up. That is another thing.
That is a problem.
Being a PSP game, the graphics audio are pretty good, although the unblinking eyes of every character were just freaky. So sadly, while this is probably quite good if it's your bag, it isn't my cup of tea. 6 out of 10. So he gave that a far worse review than Pajako's all over the map with these reviews, in my opinion. No offense, Pajako, but 6 out of 10 is a little low. Now, I will say he did bring up some 2 good points. One, this has your classic old school camera.
Yeah.
You use your digital pad to move the camera around and your analog pad to move your guy around. It actually worked okay, but it can get behind. The camera can get behind stuff or getting stuff that, going the wrong way. He also mentioned dropping your weapon when you try to pick stuff up. The picking stuff up button is the same as the drop your weapon button. Dumb. That was a dumb move.
Yeah.
I would have done that.
Because the PSP has enough buttons that they shouldn't have had to have done that.
But overall, I mean, listen, it's just not normally the kind of game I'm into. But I enjoyed it because it was a unique, unusual thing that I surprised even made it to the States, if I'm honest. But I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. And it's you also, it's one of those games like you get to feel like a stud pretty quick, and you feel like a tough guy, and you feel like you're really in it, and the goal is obtainable and interesting. And even the plots between the various characters, I'm going to assume at some point your guy becomes less of a jerk, but Pajako's right, your guy's a total jerk. He's a jerk to his friends, he's a jerk to the teachers, and he treats his downed opponents like human garbage.
Yeah.
So if you're into that kind of thing, I'd give this a whirl. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's a fun game. If you haven't tried it, look it up.
I think it's definitely okay.
Now, that's better than usual for you.
Now, Aaron.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my game.
I will say, and again, you'll know my PSP knowledge is not so good. I had never heard of this game.
Well, Aaron, don't feel bad. I had never heard of it
How did
either.
you find this? Another one of your Brents.
I went looking for exclusives.
Okay.
And this is a PSP exclusive.
So was mine.
Yep. You're right. But I chose to look at Work Time Fun. Now, Aaron, you would think a title like Work Time Fun, obviously abbreviated to WTF.
Yeah.
This is one of those
Very clever.
This is one of those offshoot companies, right? That's one and done.
Yeah.
Shot in the no.
Yeah, that's what it looks
This
like.
is a Sony Computer Entertainment original.
You're kidding me.
Not only published by them, but developed by them.
Oh, my God. You've got to be kidding me.
I am not. This was released on the PSP 2005 in Japan, and I cannot believe that they did bring this to the States about a year later.
I will say we've got 2 games that stunningly got released in the States.
In Japan, this is called Bancho 2000.
Better name.
I don't know. I kind of am fond of Work Time Fun. So, what's going on in Work Time Fun? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I would assume, and this is an assumption because it's not very well defined, you are a demon. Maybe you're a mortal just cast into hell.
I thought you were just a guy looking for a different job.
No. There is
You
definitely...
log at the beginning. You log into a system. You have to pick your sex, your birthday, put your name in there, your catchphrase. I like that. What was your catchphrase?
I just skipped it.
I put take off. That's what I put in there.
So, I'm pretty sure you are a captive, or at least, maybe, I think you're a captive of a demonic setting. Because,
I didn't get that at all.
Aaron, your boss is a big, hideous demon
But
creature.
everything in its weird looking. I just thought it was just weird stuff.
And I think the overall goal, this is what I heard from other people, it's definitely not what I got from the game,
Okay.
is you are trying to raise enough money to buy your way out of hell.
Okay. Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
So,
Well, I can tell you I'm never getting out.
so, what do you do in Work Time Fun? Well, Work Time Fun is ultimately a collection of mini games. And each mini game you can play. It has different activities, and you earn money depending on how well you do. You can then take that money to the gotcha machines, and for $1, $2, $5, $10, or $50, buy different capsule toys.
Yeah.
And when you open those capsules, you can maybe get additional work, additional mini games to play. Now, Aaron, I'm not sure if the 4 starting games are the same for everyone. Mine was baseball.
I had that one.
Something where you're
The one where you do the pins.
crossing the road, the pins.
Road, yeah.
Okay, so it looks like they're
Yeah.
the same. So, you pick one of these things, and it does have, you could do instructions so you see what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then you start playing them. And you play them until you either win or lose. Some have that stipulations. Or you just quit doing it.
Yes. That is, no. So, yeah, I agree, yes.
So, the mini games are unique,
Well.
I guess. These are not like WarioWare games. They're more like test of your endurance games.
Take this, the one on the screen, for example. It's the first one I tried, the baseball challenge.
Uh-huh.
All you got to do is a demon is hitting batting practice. You're at second base, you're on, or shortstop.
Yeah.
And your goal is to field the ball and throw to first. That's all you got to do.
Yes.
I thought, okay, I can do this. And I looked at the counter. It said 1, and then it said out of 1,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've got to be joking. They want me to sit here and do this 1,000 times? And I knew right there, I was like, oh, God, what is this?
And as you go, it will, like baseball at least, this isn't true of all of them, it will get progressively harder. Or the game will change in some other way. So, I'll counter. That was the other one. Like Aaron said, baseball plans for you to do this 1,000 times. There is one mini game where you are in a factory and you are putting pin lids on pins.
The right way.
Right. And you either you scroll to go to your next pin, put the lid on, or scroll the next pin, flip it right side up so you're not putting it on the back of the pin, you're putting it on where the ink actually comes out, and then passing it on. That's it. That's the mini game. And at the bottom, it doesn't have 1,000, Aaron. It doesn't have 10,000. It's wanting you to do this like 1 quintillion times.
It's like 0 just across the entire length of the screen. And the funny thing about that level is at the top, in the background, there's like a sweatshop or something going in China or Japan, and you can hear in English people complaining. And like, I gotta get out of here. This is killing me.
Yes.
You can catch this sucks. So it makes it more arduous. I thought to myself, God, I'm back on the slide line at IBM. Here we are.
And the thing is, especially for that one, like the lighting's all dim.
It's horrible.
And it's crap. And when you go into it,
Pandemonium.
like
that's what it's called.
some things that change. Sometimes it's a black pin. Sometimes it's a red pin.
Yeah.
But like that's it. That's it. And then you are just doing this forever. And if you just stop caring and just start sending the pins through, putting the cap on who cares what end, you'll still get paid, but you'll get docked for all the ones that you missed.
Yeah.
one of the mini games I bought or ended up finding was you're sexing chickens, where you put in you're taking a chicken, and if it's got a bow, it's a girl. You put it in the girl box. If it doesn't, it's a boy. You put it in the boy box, or it can be dead, and you put it in the heaven box.
Oh, God.
Did you get that one?
No.
Okay. So as you're going along, right? Because you can do this pretty fast. As you're going along, the chickens start having like mutations and looking like all messed up and weird. But as long as if it's a boy mutation, you put it in the boy box, you keep them going. But that's the type of game this is. It has these huge monotonous tasks that if you're willing to put in the effort, it will pay off in some small.
I was gonna say I'm waiting for this.
Small comedic
What is the
way.
payoff again?
It will pay off in some small comedic way. Other things that you do in this title is you have access to email, or you can go and look at like office gossip, or your coworkers bragging about how much better they are than you. You can get achievements and awards through different things that you do in the mini games. Is it enough to hold your interest?
No.
It's a tough sell.
Yeah.
What was the big component to this was its online component.
Yeah, because that's when mine locked up. The second it tried to get online.
Yeah, you can't get online, obviously, but the online components had you going to other people's factories and doing this with them, or you can trade your gotcha gifts with them. So if you have a rare one, you can trade for another rare one to fill out your collection, that sort of thing. Without that, and the mini games, you start with 4. There are up to 40. I think I unlocked 7 total. Did you get any past the 4?
Yes, I unlocked a couple.
What did you unlock? Do you remember?
Oh, geez, I don't remember. There was a one with a blue background where you're in bricks. I can't remember what it was.
Okay, I didn't see the
bizarre. I was just like, all these games are bizarre.
It's all about absurdity. It's all about absurdity, and the game is supposed to feel tedious, which it pulls off in remarkably.
Which one begs the question: why would you do that? I know one thing to keep in mind when we talk about these games. It's a portable system. I always try to think about that, and I think to myself, hey, when I'm sitting in the bus station or at the laundromat, what do I want to do? And even then, what I don't want to do is put caps on pins or play that god-awful Frogger game with the mushrooms. What is that? I don't even know. Like, it's not, none of these games are, it's like someone saw WarioWare, but the person that saw it's from like another planet. They're like, listen, we can make something like that. We don't need any humans to help. Get to work, Chlorvax. And Chlorvax came up with this game. That's where it came from.
I am not going to tell you this is a good game.
Wise choice.
However, if I had this on my phone...
I didn't know that scrolled.
Oh, so you never saw the higher dollar?
No, I just thought there were 3. Okay.
If I had this on my phone, and the controls were good, right? Because, touchscreen, it's a whole different world. I could probably see myself playing this a lot.
Which game on here would you play?
I played the across the road to... You're trying to get the person across the traffic and collect the mushrooms.
You mean that blocky blob?
Well, yeah.
Across the blocky blob road.
Yeah. I played that a lot. I earned... In my town playing, I earned over $50.
That's impressive because most of the time you finish playing, you get like 17 cents.
Yes, correct.
A check. You remember when we used to play like the Three Stooges, and that'd be here, doot, 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 and there'd be a check. They'd be show one of the Stooges up a check for like $400, and that was in Stooge times. Like the people in this place, they give you no money. Nothing.
It is really hard.
The best game I did was the one where you count the people. The people counter. I got, in that one game, on my best game, I got like almost $5.
See, I never played that one because if you fail, you get nothing. You have to quit. Or at
No,
least,
that's not true, because I failed and got $5.
oh, I was not good at that one. I don't think I ever made it past round 4. I guess counting is not my thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is not to everyone's standards. Aaron, what did you think of Work Time Fun?
It's a puzzling game. When it started off, and it came right to the screen where you put your info in, I thought,
Yep.
wow, that's awful forward, and I saw the janky title screen. I'm like, what? And I thought, what shovelware death hole is this crawling out of? Because I don't care who made this is shovelware. To the nines. I mean, this is what you would, this is lower than, those games based on like a kid's cartoon that was around for like a week? This is lower than that in terms of its quality. But it's so bad and the games are so stupid that it can't exist on this earth. The paradox of its existence is alluring to me. And so, yes, I did play this probably more than I normally would. And then eventually I questioned, what am I doing with my life? As I was turning those stupid pins over. And then they docked my pay before I understood what the game was. It's a stupid game. It's real stupid. Is this something you would play in the laundromat? I wouldn't. But the one thing I will say about it is it doesn't matter. You can quit at any time.
Yes. At any point you quit, you take the money you would have made.
Yeah, well, for what that's worth. I don't know what they sold this for, but I can't imagine this is a full price offering.
This was a full price offering.
Oh my God.
The reviews at the time were mixed.
Mixed? Someone gave this a positive score?
This
that
scored
is baffling.
Everything from an 8 out of 10 down to a 1 out of 5.
Okay. 8 out of 10? Who gave it that? Pajaco?
GameSpot. And literally every score in between. This has a small, and I do mean small, cult following because there are a lot of different Easter eggs if you do certain things. Just like counting the chicks and they start to mutate and have aliens and stuff. I read a post where one of the emails from the little jerk kid, I don't know if you got an email from the little jerk kid thinking he's better than everybody else.
I did get it. Yeah, that guy's a jerk.
One of his emails tells you that there's a secret Easter egg if you hold the X button for 10 hours.
Did anyone try that?
And someone was like, man, has anyone ever done this? I can definitely see this game actually having an Easter egg if you do it. So, no, everyone was like, no, man, I haven't got that. I don't know that email, blah, blah, blah. Well, then he wrote back later. He said, okay, I did it, and I didn't get anything. So, that's the type of game this is. That is going to appeal a lot to some people and not at all for others. I completely accept if someone says this is the dumbest thing ever. What are you doing? You're an idiot.
Yeah.
I cannot fault them for having that thought. However, this is, like I said, something I could see myself playing for months and months at a time, trying to unlock all of the gacha toys and all the games. And I'm not necessarily proud of that.
I will say, of the two games, mine's way, way better. Okay, because mine's a game. However,
So
this one should be looked at, studied, at least once in your life. This is one of those where you look at it, you're like, how can this be? How can this be here? I know it's supposed to be like a WarioWare type thing for the Sony PSP, but it's not. But it's much weirder, and that's saying something when you're coming off the WarioWare series.
When I saw that this was produced and developed by Sony Entertainment, I was stunned.
Yeah.
I was stunned.
We did get a review here from
did we?
Oh, yeah, our good buddy. He doesn't never miss, man. Pajaco. He says, the hell did I just play? I've genuinely never heard of this game before. I feel like I have just done drugs and had a trip. Trust me, that's not what that feels like. Sadly, I didn't get to play too many mini games, sadly, as they need to be unlocked via the ROM vending machine, and you need money available from the jobs, and some of the jobs do not pay well. I struggled to get past counting level 2, and William Hell is quite tough and down to some luck sometimes. Fingers? Hell no. That game actually made me anxious. Some of these games are just stupid, like Pandemonium, which we mentioned. But you keep playing to see what happens like an idiot, and that's how they get you. I was kind of hoping the trinkets would help in the games, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Over collecting them adds a weird extra element of fun because they are comically lame trinkets, but with funny descriptions.
And they all have their own descriptions, yes.
And the messages in the emails are also amusing to read. My actual only minor complaint with the game is that you can pick from 4 jobs at a time, and some of them suck and pay badly, but you have to play them. Definitely one to check out, but I feel like I'm missing something here. Like maybe the game isn't what I think it is, which is where we're on acid, but it is amusing, and most of what I played was fun and utterly pointless. 7 capped pins out of 10. So he gave this a higher score than my game, which is the tradition for Bancho.
You're the man, Bancho.
P.S. If you're playing on PSP, don't go to the cantina and try to connect to the interwebs.
Yeah, we'll crash.
And don't also try to swap your trinkets.
You can't do anything in the multiplayer.
No, you can't do any of that stuff because you will crash the game. Which is, I don't know if it times out eventually.
It does not.
Yeah, because I sat there for a long time.
Yeah, I fast forwarded the emulation, and it never does anything.
So that's the one we're going to close it out on, the Brent. I mean, this was a non-traditional look at the PSP, that's for sure. Your game is a interesting novelty. My game, I think you could have some fun with if you're a patient person who likes random beat 'em up with a little bit of panache. But I think both are fun, and I will say, I see a PSP stream in my future because there were too many good games there that I've never played before, and I want to play them. They look real good, so I could definitely see something coming down the pike. I enjoyed the PSP, and I'm glad I've got a couple. I really should get more use out of these things, and maybe I'll start cranking up some actual action on my PSP. With all that said, Brent,
Aaron, do you know what always pays the pennies?
I don't know what that means, so no.
It's the wheel.
Oh, got it. Okay, fine.
What
pays the pennies?
That's right.
What does that mean?
Every time we spend this thing, we get a few more pennies added to the bank account.
You're weird.
What did you add to the wheel, Aaron?
This week we added games with famous people. From our own John Bodokar Schaller, who's currently in Thailand. And the winner is, Brent? The winner is Racing Games Without Vehicles.
Oh, God.
Sent in by our old pal, the Rushi. Rushi sneaks another one in.
That's it.
Racing Games Without Vehicles. So let's get this. So we're gonna say without cars. Is that the way we're gonna do? Because I mean, like for example, what if they're rocket ships? What if they're riding brooms? Like, what are the parameters on this game without vehicles?
I think anything
or running.
Anything that is engine powered
is out.
Right.
Okay, that sounds fair enough. So that'll be in a couple weeks on the 29th. We'll be filming that one. Next week, Brent, the retro rotation spins on, and we're back to our old buddy, the Coco Show. And boy, do we got a weird one for you next week. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water after whatever Brent picked this week on the Coco. And we both come from the Coco. So we know a lot of the games, but I don't know this one. Next week we're going to be playing Caves of the Unwashed Heathen. A game based on the life of Brent, perchance. Cave of the Unwashed Heathen. That'll be next week, the Coco Show, June 22nd. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks, June 29th, for Racing Games Without Vehicles at ARG Presents. Now, let's talk turkey, Brent. We've not plugged a whole lot of Boat Fest for a while, but we're going to plug it today because we're so close. You can almost taste it. July 11th, 12th, 13th in beautiful, scenic downtown Hurricane. It all goes down. A meeting of the minds, an international computer expo, if you will be had at the Social Event Center in Hercules, Virginia. It's BoatFest 2025, Brent. It'll be 3 days of joy and fun as all your favorites come down and bring their various goodies to display there at the BoatFest. We'll have every sort of computer you can think of. We're going to have high score challenges. We're going to have some demos. We're going to have things I promise you've never seen before, not in Hercules anyway. And we'll have good times with good people. Are you excited this year for the big Boat Fest?
I am. I'm more nervous this year than I've ever been.
Really?
Just because of my current situation.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I'm excited. I really am.
Let me explain some of the things you're going to see at Boat Fest this year, okay? First of all, we're going to do a live Amigos, Everything Amiga podcast where we're going to celebrate our 10th anniversary of doing the show, if you can believe that. It's almost to the day. 10 years of doing the Amigos podcast. So that'll be a lot of fun once I figure out what we're doing. And then we'll also be doing a live ARG Presents Saturday morning, me and the Brent. And that should be a good time once Brent figures out what we're doing. And also, our good buddy, Rob Flack O'Hara, as always, will be there, do a live Sprite Castle. He'll be there, and guess what? He's going to be driving Big Rob's van. Big Rob's van, if you're familiar with his very popular and famous video blog, Big Rob's Van video show on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't. And, of course, Flack, if you don't know Flack, and his various other super-duper shows will be there. Plus, when I say international, we got people coming from all the way down in Australia. We got people coming from England. And we got people maybe coming from Canada, maybe. And God knows from where else. But they're going to be descending. And last but not least, there will be the big auction that you preside over every year. So that should be a lot of fun. So again, that's July 11th, 12th, 13th. BoatFest 2025. Check us out. Look it up. And come get your tickets today. We'd love to get you to walk up to it. I think that is all. Do we have anything else we need to plug? Oh, I should mention, we've been busy this weekend. If you missed it, I did a Fun Friday Disaster stream on Amiga games that were coin-offs from machines you probably didn't know existed or didn't know they were actually arcade machines. That was fun. And then if you're particularly interested, we did 3 hours of myself playing a modern game last night with Pat from TSI. We did 3 hours of Baldur's Gate. All this stuff's up on the Amigos Retro Gaming channel, on YouTube, and on Twitch, if you're interested in that sort of thing. And we'll be back Friday for another Amigos Summer of Arcade. Should be a lot of fun. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and I hope that people enjoy everything we put out. There you go, or at least some of it. Any party thoughts?
Nope.
All righty, we'll see you next week for K's of the Unwashed Heathen. Bye.
We got it going. With a spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our faith and stream it to you all in one take. We tend to be loud and we